What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Writing Tips, where I break down tropes and archetypes from your favorite stories in the hopes that you can learn a little bit more about writing. Today, we're looking at the Magnificent Seven Samurai archetype. But before we get into that, I want to remind you all that today's video is the third episode in a series of writing lessons focused around fictional themes and storytelling. I'm collaborating with Robin Sprung on this series, and each week, we're taking turns releasing a new episode on our channels. He just did a video on the Power Trio, so if you guys want to go check that out, the link is down below. Now, who exactly are the Magnificent Seven Samurai? They're very similar to the five-man band, but with a few significant changes. If you're unfamiliar with the five-man band trope, I did a video on that a while back, and you can find the link in the description. But for the Magnificent Seven Samurai team, you essentially have the same archetypes in the leader, the lancer, the smart guy, and the big guy. But you get three new character archetypes that come in the form of the mentor, the naive newcomer, and the comic relief. There's also another character trope that's used as a substitute for some versions of the Magnificent Seven Samurai, and that's the flat character archetype. Now these roles are pretty self-explanatory, but I'll go ahead and walk you through them anyways. In the traditional hero's journey plot structure, the mentor character is usually the wiser and more experienced guide who takes it upon themselves to train and teach the protagonist in the ways of heroism. But within the context of the Magnificent Seven Samurai, that's not always the case. So long as you have a character who's older than the rest of the team and is more experienced in whatever fields they practice in, then you got a mentor for your ensemble. The naive newcomer, aka the new guy, is the newest and usually the youngest recruit of the team. It's pretty common for the main protagonist to wear the shoes of the naive newcomer, so that they can be the catalyst who introduces the story's world and its characters to the audience. But like I said, within the context of the Magnificent Seven Samurai, this character doesn't have to be a rookie. They could just be the last one to join the group, which is why this trope is also called the new guy. The comic relief is the most obvious and self-explanatory out of all these tropes. They're the character whose primary function in the story is to relieve the tension through wisecracking jokes and/or crazy antics. Since their purpose is crucial to balancing out the story's overall tone, the comic relief will almost always be immune to dying when compared to the other characters. Now, the flat character is practically just filler for the team. These characters have the bare minimum of information given about them. They have no personalities, they hardly have any screen time, and they never get fleshed out like the rest of their teammates. While this normally would be considered bad writing, the flat character is used by writers who want to use the Magnificent Seven Samurai trope but don't have enough time in the story to develop every single character. So they take the hit and decide to make one of the seven heroes a flat character, whom audiences practically know nothing about. These flat characters could be used to replace any of the other seven archetypes. For example, in Seven Samurai, Shichiroji is the flat character, because the only information the audience learns about him is that he is a former war buddy of Kambi's. That's literally it. That's all we know about him, nothing else. He's got no dialogue that makes him stand out from the rest of the team, and he doesn't do anything memorable or important in the story at all. And again, these flat characters go throughout the narratives undeveloped because of limited screen time. But that still doesn't mean it's a valid excuse for having boring characters in your story. So even though the flat character is a legitimate trope used in team movies, I would encourage you all to stay away from using this archetype, because you'll be doing both your characters and your audience a service by avoiding this trope and actually taking the time to flesh out your characters. Now, the Magnificent Seven Samurai is a very unique archetype because it's not only a team trope, but it's also a plot device as well. The original 1954 Seven Samurai film is considered by many film scholars to be the first team movie in history. Ever since Seven Samurai was remade into the classic 1960 western The Magnificent Seven, writers have been taking this team trope of the Magnificent Seven Samurai and turning it into a plot device so that the team itself becomes the focus of the narrative's plot. This is why Seven Samurai is considered to be the first team movie, because after its release, every story to ever have a plot focused around a team of awesome characters being assembled to save a community owes its inspiration to Akira Kurosawa and his Seven Samurai film. It's important to note that the Magnificent Seven Samurai have different requirements to qualify as a team archetype than they do for a plot device. To qualify as a team archetype, the seven characters who make up the Magnificent Seven Samurai have to fulfill the character archetypes we talked about earlier. You know, the leader, the lancer, the smart guy, the big guy, the mentor, the naive newcomer, the comic relief, and unfortunately, sometimes the flat character. But to qualify as a plot device, the Magnificent Seven Samurai have to follow these specific plot beats. In Act 1, the main protagonist will answer the call to adventure, which will come in the form of an evil faction threatening a peaceful community that is either unwilling or unable to defend themselves. Act 1 will mostly revolve around the recruitment of the 7 total team members and convincing them to join the cause. Act 2A is where the training and early team collaboration takes place. This can either manifest in the team itself going through some training, the team going out on a mission or two, or the team taking it upon themselves to train the peaceful community members in self-defense. The villains will launch an attack and the team will successfully hold them off, leaving the community in high spirits. The midpoint will feature some kind of defeat for the team, whether that comes in the form of a lost battle, the demise of a character, the disbandment of the team, or the team being banished, all depends on the writer. Act 2B will feature the team going through some kind of reconciliation as they recover from their defeat. They'll get their act together and decide that they can't abandon the community to their doomed fate. The tension is cranked up, the stakes are raised, and the bad guys begin to close in. Act 3 will center on the team returning to the community and engaging the antagonists in a climactic final battle. Some form of renewed teamwork and cooperation will take place here. That can either come in the form of the team members overcoming their differences and working together as a single unit, or the community joining in the fight to help out the team. Now, this isn't mandatory, but traditionally, several, if not all, of the team members will be injured or killed in the final battle. Regardless of what kind of casualties the writer decides on, the team will always defeat the antagonist in the end. The resolution will focus on what's left of the team honoring their dead, saying their farewells, and going their separate ways. This is how the Magnificent Seven Samurai is so similar to the 5-man band, because I guarantee you that even if you haven't seen Seven Samurai or the Magnificent Seven, you've seen this plot device used before, and you just weren't aware of it. Let's take a look at some examples of the Magnificent Seven Samurai. We'll start first with the team archetype. In the Seven Samurai, Kambi is the leader, and instead of having a lancer, they have Shichiroji as the flat character. Gorobi is the smart guy, Kikuchiyo is the big guy, Kyuzo is the mentor, Katsushiro is the naive newcomer, and Heihachi is the comic relief. In the 1960 version of the Magnificent Seven, Chris is the leader, Vin is the lancer, Harry is the smart guy, O'Reilly is the big guy, Britt is the mentor, Chico is the naive newcomer, and instead of having a comic relief, they have Lee as the flat character. In Stephen King's It, the Losers Club is made up of Billy as the leader, Richie as the lancer, Dan as the smart guy, Beverly as the mentor, Ben as the naive newcomer, Eddie as the comic relief, and instead of having a big guy, they have Mike as the flat character. In 2004's King Arthur, Arthur is the leader, Lancelot is the lancer, go figure, and instead of having a smart guy, they have Gawain as the flat character, Dagonet is the big guy, Tristan is the mentor, Galahad is the naive newcomer, and Bors is the comic relief. Now here's a few examples that use the Magnificent Seven Samurai plot archetype, but didn't follow the team archetype itself. In Mass Effect 2, Commander Shepard goes rogue from the Alliance because they refuse to acknowledge the threat of the Collectors. Shepard and his crew travel around the galaxy, recruiting a unique ensemble of professionals. The team experiences a setback in the midpoint when they fall for a Collector trap. And in the climax, Shepard and his crew journey into uncharted space and destroy the Collector base. Depending on how the player chooses to play the game, all of the team members will either survive or die during the final mission, including Shepard. In A Bug's Life, Flick recruits a team of circus bugs to protect his colony from the pillaging grasshoppers. This example is more of a parody because the circus bugs initially thought that they were being hired to entertain the ants, not fight for them. Plus there's 9 of them, as opposed to the usual 7 that make up the Magnificent Seven Samurai. But after the circus bugs are exposed as frauds, they are banished. They return after the colony has been conquered, and they help liberate it from the grasshoppers' rule in the climax. Since it's a kids movie, nobody really dies and the whole team survives. Rise of the Guardians, Justice League, and the first Avengers movie all follow the same formula of a 5-man band being assembled to save the world from either an alien invasion or some other kind of terrestrial threat. The team goes through their ups and downs, some of them even disband for a moment, but for the greater good, they manage to get their act together and they make a comeback that results in the planetary threat being thwarted. After securing victory, the team will split up and go their separate ways. Practically every TV show in existence has an episode that follows this formula. Just to quote a few examples, in BBC's Merlin, there's the Season 2 episode, The Moment of Truth. In Star Trek Enterprise, it's in the episode Marauders. and in 2011's Thundercats, it's in the 9th episode called Burbles. The last half of Season 5 in The Walking Dead follows the Magnificent Seven samurai plot archetype as well. Star Wars has 2 examples of this trope. One is seen in the Clone Wars episode Bounty Hunters, and the second example can be found in the Mandalorian episode Sanctuary. If you want to learn more about the Magnificent Seven samurai archetype, go ahead and take a look at the TV Tropes website, where they have a whole library of knowledge dedicated to tropes and archetypes within storytelling. If you're interested in learning more about writing techniques, go ahead and subscribe so that you can get notified when I post a new video. Leave a comment down below and list off any fictional ensembles that you think might be a Magnificent Seven samurai. Don't forget to like this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.